And we are live. Okay. Ladies, gentlemen, brother, and all, welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, a casual conversation around Freemasonry. First, it's important for us to note that our opinions are our own, and our thoughts do not reflect those of our Grand Lodge or respective craft or concordant bodies, etc. And now take the opportunity to ask you to connect with us on our YouTube chat or on the chat room on the side of our Facebook page or on our Discord server. Um, and again, if you're enjoying our podcast, please like, comment them, review them. It really helps us with our standings as we're now going into podcast app land. They really look at your reviews. So we appreciate that. Now, on to our topic for today. If I can just get over to the right window. We have with us today, um, oh, by the way, I'm Steve Chung, past master of Prince Charles Lodge here in Kelowna, British Columbia, senior D. Malay from Vancouver, British Columbia, and other things in Scottish Rite. But with us today we have, let's go with David Colbeth. He's all the way from Washington State. David.
Hey, thanks, Steven. Appreciate it. Hey, everyone. Glad to be part of the show today. I apologize for my voice. We did quite a bit of screaming over the weekend at the Rainbow for Girls Grand Assembly in Yakima. So anyway, I'm David Colbeth. I'm past master at King Solomon Lodge in Auburn, Washington. But yeah, I live in Bonnie Lake. I'm also past district deputy for District 13. Woo! The Grand Lodge, Washington, and also we're a rowdy district. We're to the rowdy district, if you don't know who District 13 is. And I'm also a 32nd degree Scottish Rite Mason out of the Valley of Tacoma, and soon to be a member of this this guest we've got on today, his shrine. So I'd like to introduce to you our brother Dale Vrsalovich. He is the Potentate of Afifi Shrine. And so, Dale, I will let you have the honors and tell us about yourself and what other past ranks you've had and all that kind of stuff.
Welcome. All right. I'm the current Potentate, which means we go January to January. So I will be done with my term in January. And I started in D. Malay in 1974, went through all the chairs and became master counselor in 79. Did a lot of traveling in there. Then I jumped into Lodge in 1982, went up the chairs and became master the first time in 1989. Then I switched lodges about 14 years later and went through the chairs in another lodge in Gateway Lodge in Brea, California, and became master in 2008. Then officers coach for a couple of years, and then I moved to Washington and subsequently joined Scottish Rite and Shrine and spent a stint as Secretary of the Valley for Vancouver Valley Scottish Rite in Vancouver, Washington. And then now I'm serving my stint as a Potentate of Afifi Shriners. And I'm also the regional membership director for all of the 18 shrine temples in the Pacific Northwest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And we thought we had a list of titles, eh, David?
No kidding.
Well, I didn't go through my civilian titles. I mean, no. Prevaricator, riot infuser, and never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah. And the more you do, just the more titles they give you, just because, right?
Yeah, it kind of goes with it. I mean, you get involved in something. Next thing you know, they say, "Hey, we want to tap you for this, and we want to tap you for that." Next thing you know, you got more clubs, more dues, more this, more that. I mean, I'm a shrine clown. All right, so I'm going to put that right up front. I'm Keys the Clown, and that's Keys because I play the piano, and you can see there's a piano behind me, and I do play around with it, and so I use the keyboard with me when I go to the Shrine Hospital and entertain the children there. So that's one of my fun things. Yeah.
Very cool. One of my good friends in Lodge is he used to be in charge of the clown unit for BC or something like that. Bob Goslin, and he brings his balloons everywhere he goes, and like when we do our Christmas parties and things like that.
I'm real good at snakes, and swords, and that's about it. I tried balloons and it's an acquired skill. You have to get the dexterity and have the ingenuity to figure out these things, and then practice it. And it's one of those things where you practice piano or you practice ballooning, and then when you're in leadership, you're really busy doing all that stuff. So, you do the best you can with what you got.
So for our listeners' benefit, because some of our listeners may or may not know the structure of things, we have in Masonry what we call our blue lodges, and that goes to the 3 degrees. And then you can go into the Scottish Rite or the York Rite, or the shrine, or the ladies' Eastern Star.
Yeah, and those are all optional. Those are all optional.
And several other bodies. It used to be that you had to become a 32nd degree Mason before you could become a Shriner and have all that much fun, being a clown and things like that. But now they apparently have taken that away. I know in Canada, you no longer have to be a 32nd degree Mason to become a Shriner.
That was an international decision about, I don't know the date, maybe 15 years ago, and they were looking at ways to increase membership, and they thought, well, what if we just remove that restriction to Shrine to take away the Scottish Rite and York Rite being needed to go into Shrine. And so they did that, and it really didn't change the membership numbers because they still keep going down, just like everything else has been going for Masonic stuff. But hey, you got to try something. So guys come straight from Masonry into Shrine now.
Right. And I'm surprised that didn't offset the age fall off, because so many guys that were waiting to join until they got there. I know of a dozen here locally that as soon as they found out they could join, they joined because they wanted to do other good works, right? So I'm surprised to hear that it actually didn't really boost membership a whole lot.
Nope. It's I'm on the membership team for international, and that was before my time. I only joined Shrine 7 years ago, so they were looking at different things to try. When your numbers keep going down, and you got to do something, or bail the ship out. So they looked at that, they tried it, and I'm not going to lie. From what I heard, Scottish Rite and York Rite both howled and complained because they're losing. Hey, you're cutting. You're taking guys away and doing it. You're undercutting us or something. I don't know. So because I joined Shrine before I joined Scottish Rite, and I've been a Blue Lodge guy for 30 years first. 30, let me see, 30, I got 37 years. So I was a Mason, a Blue Lodge guy for 29 years before I ever touched Shrine. Okay. Right. And I know the stories, you're taking our members and all that stuff. So I get it, but I'm in membership for Shrine, and I'm going to tell you, I've got more guys in Masonry because of Shrine than I did before when I was just a Blue Lodge member, because you have that added thing that you're out there working with people in the public eye much more as a Shriner than you are as a Mason. And they go, well, where does this all start? And you go, well, you really want to know, you got to be a Mason first. And some guys are intrigued and they go, I always wondered about that. And other guys are like, I don't want nothing to do with the Freemasons, So it's interesting to see the reaction of people, but the ones that are interested and like it, oh, it's fun. They have a ball. And everybody that I have got through as a membership guy into Lodge has been active in their Lodge, and they're active in Shrine now that they've got their 3rd degree. So it's a win-win for everybody. And I just, you let the cards play fall where they play. You just do what you
can. Guys go where they have interest to go. Let's face it, that's just the way that works, right? And I know a lot of guys who have interest to go to Shrine and wish they had the time to, but they're waiting to retire first because everything seems to be on a long weekend for you guys. But we did have a curious question. What was that? It was about the structure, David.
Yeah, we were going to talk a little bit about that to understand the process and the structure. I think with not having Canada here, we can't get the Canadian side of things, but without Lou here. But if you
Well,
want to talk a little bit about,
there's no difference in structure.
okay,
The shrine is structured the same in Canada as it is in the United States. They all fall under the imperial potentate. Unlike masonry, shrine has one guy in charge of the whole thing, and he's called the imperial potentate. And there is a line of officers right underneath him, and it's called the imperial line, and it's a 10-year long line, and it's elections each step of the way. And you go from imperial potentate to chief Rabban, to assistant Rabban, to high priest and prophet, to Oriental guide, and on and on and on. So they all have their names enshrined, and there's 10 of them.
So it's kind of like a Grand Lodge, but it's the Universal Grand Lodge.
Yeah, if there was, let's say there was one Grand Master for all of the world, it would be the Imperial Grand Master, okay? Well, in Shrine, it's the Imperial Potentate, and that's how you address him and the officers. You call him Imperial Sir. Now, from that structure, it goes to the temple, and the temple there's about 198 temples in the world, and each temple is centered on a big city, generally speaking. So you can look at LA, they have Al-Malika. You can look at Vancouver, BC, they have Giza. You can look at Seattle, they have Nile. You can look at Spokane, they have El Katif, and and so on and so forth. And then each temple covers an area outside of that in that suburban area. So Afifi Shrine Temple is based out of Tacoma, Washington, and it covers the 40 Masonic lodges in all of Southwest Washington, from SeaTac south to Vancouver, out to Ilwaco, and inland to White Salmon and Morton and all those areas. So that's the main structure. So think of a potentate as like a mini Grand Master, okay? And each state has either one or more temples in the state. So Washington State has 4 temples. BC has 1 temple. Alaska has 1 temple. Oregon has 2 temples, Hilla and Al-Qadir. So it all depends on how active things are. If it takes about 300 to 400 guys to start a temple, and if they're already part of a temple, they have to get permission from the home temple and the surrounding temples to break off and form their own shrine temple, and then it goes all the way to imperial to get voted on. But from the temple level, it goes down to the club level, which is like the lodge. So the club level covers each county in the area. So in Afifi Shrine, we have 5 clubs that are. Gateway is in Clark County. Columbia River Shrine Club is in Cowlitz County. Lewis County Shrine Club is Lewis County. We are opening up a new shrine club out in the Ilwaco, Long Beach, Ocean Shores area, and it's going to maybe be called Pacific County Shrine Club.
Hang on a sec. Did I hear you right? You said you're opening a new one? That sounds like growth to me.
It is growth. It is growth. There's growth in masonry out in Occident Lodge 48 in Ilwaco, and guys are interested in doing more things. And the shrine is a good way for them to do community works in the community and draw people in, because every Shriner is a Freemason in Washington, and they just changed what's going on in Arkansas, so that's going to change too, based on what happened there back in 2012. That we voted on it, and every Mason, every Shriner in Arkansas that joined in that period of time where there was a schism between the Grand Lodge of Arkansas and Shriners International, 157 guys are now going to have to convert to Masonry, and they have 3 years to do it. And that was the vote that just occurred at the last Imperial session. So,
what do you mean convert to Masonry?
Well, in 2012, there was a schism between the Grand Lodge of Arkansas and Shrine International. And it was just, it's a simple thing. One guy did something wrong, and another guy pointed his finger at him. They argued, they fought, and then finally the Grand Master, it was part of his whole thing at that time. I think he basically said, that's it. Shrine is kaput here. You can't be a Mason in the Shrine, and if you join Shrine, you're gonna have to quit. And so the guys that had been Shriners for a long time, 20 years, had to choose between Grand Lodge or Shrine and being excommunicated from Grand Lodge. So they had that schism. Well, Shrine International, the answer to that at the time was, well, we're going to authorize these guys to stay Shriners and they don't have to belong to Lodge. So maybe it was an experiment. Maybe, I don't know. But in the 7 years since then, they got 157 guys in who are not Masons in Shrine. But they've reunited with the work of past potentate and the member of the Grand Lodge Committee in Shrine International, Dave Worrell. He did a lot of work with the Imperial Potentate Jim Kane and the current Grand Master and the last Grand Master of Arkansas. And they came to an arrangement, and they said, let's let bygones be bygones. They worked on their jurisprudence, then they worked on their how to work with each other, and they said, okay, we're going to do this and bring these guys back in the fold. That's the answer to that. So it's a really interesting story, and if you're into finding out the history of that, probably the best source would be Chris Hodap and his Freemasons for Dummies blog, because I looked that up a long time ago.
So how are they going to reintegrate? They got to take the ones that didn't get degrees.
The guys that they have to join, they have to petition the lodge and go through the degrees if they want to stay current as Shriners. So they have 3 years to do it. They figured they'll give them some time, because it does take time to go through the degrees. And we'll see what happens, how many those guys stay in.
Well, hopefully they've got good mentoring programs, because some of these guys probably haven't done that kind of ritual work.
Yes. Yeah. And I know all about mentoring, because I've been doing it for decades.
You know, I can believe that about you. You know, all the things that you've got on that resume of yours. I tell you, I believe you're a big part of that. You probably get involved in like education stuff too, don't you?
Oh yeah. I mean, just on the temple level, we've been doing instituting training. We haven't done that in years, so we put together some training sessions, and we've done a 1-day shrine, the whole tutorial, A to Z, what to do, how to do it, how this works, how the bylaws work, how the international bylaws work, how to start your club, and who's the boss, where the chain of command goes, what they can do and what they can't do. And that's why I said the potentate is kind of like the mini Grand Master. You know, he basically decides legislative appeals and that stuff. And then it goes up to Imperial if they want to go above his head. But he's basically the representative of the Imperial Potentate in that shrine temple.
So in your shrine temple, what's the officer's line?
The officer's line is it's a 10-year line with 5 elected. Okay, or 7 elected. You have the recorder, who's like the secretary, and the treasurer, and those are elected offices every year. And then you have the 5 elected line officers called the Divan board of directors, and it goes. The first one is potentate. The next one down, first VP, would be chief Rabban, and then assistant Rabban, then high priest and prophet, and Oriental guide. Where they got these names from, I have no idea. Okay, this is all when they founded Shrine, it was a Near Eastern term. Oriental guide is like the bottom of the line.
Oh, okay. So that's do you have to go through the other ones first?
No, I got elected right into high priest and prophet when I ran for office. I was asked to run. I retired from UPS 5 years ago, and then a year after that, I was approached and said, "Hey, would you like to run for office? We think you think you'd be a great fit for running the shrine and helping out." So there you go. And I jumped in.
And hanging out with guys like David, I'll bet you in no time he's gonna be potentate.
Well, I will say this: the stuff I've learned in Shrine, the leadership training is some of the best I've ever had. That they do at the Imperial level. And if David were interested in going on to a leadership role, he would be invited to attend the leadership training schools and the membership schools. And he might be really amazed at how good the speakers, the presenters are, and how polished they are. Because these guys, you got to remember, Shrine pulls guys out of the business world, out of Masonry. And some of these guys are part of the Arbinger Institute, Maxwell Training, and School of Leadership, past Grand Masters, and they train, and they know these things, they learn them, and they just pass it on. So we have some really good people.
So remember what David, when you get that invite, that's the hook coming.
Oh, by the way. Well, we have to get David in first. He's only at the very, very edge of the door. We have to open the door still. We haven't
he's committed. He's committed. Yeah.
He's
Oh, yeah.
committed. And hey,
Yeah.
my hat's off to him. He's a rainbow advisor. I did that. I was a DMLA advisor, all that stuff too. So my hat's off to him. That's a lot of time.
Not an advisor yet. I got my finger printed this weekend, but I'm not an advisor yet.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Just a supportive parent.
Yeah, so we're all there.
The organization is nothing without supportive parents, right?
Absolutely.
You know?
We need lots of others.
You need more of them. That's right. But yeah, I imagine that. Yeah, maybe 4 years. 4 years he'll be in that line somewhere. Yeah, right. Because how long does it take to go through your process of initiation and all that?
Oh, one day you're done. It's Shrine is one big ceremony. Yeah, Shrine's a ceremony.
Two or 3
one day.
Mind you, his girl did just join Joby's, and I gotta say, I was so involved with DMLA at the time my girls were in Joe's daughters that I missed a lot of the stuff in Joby's. So if you ever get the opportunity to clone yourself, David, do that because you really want to catch some of the Rainbow Girls and Joby things, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I keep telling anybody that talks about anything. I said I need 10 years, guys. Look, give me 10 years at least.
And I understand that totally.
And in the Blue Lodge, I love that you took quite a while to go through before you became a Shriner. Kind of same with me. I've been a Mason 10 years, but I really want to I still there's lots to do in the Blue Lodge. And I really appreciate that you and our shrine in Washington really promotes membership and activity in the Blue Lodge and not just, hey, come on in and be a Shriner. There's still, I call it a myth understanding. There's still a lot of myth understandings in Masonry about a lot of things. I was talking to some guys this weekend about that, about some other myth understandings about joining. And that's becoming a better understanding that it's not just about joining Masonry to become a Shriner and then forget about Blue Lodge. It's been a big push to focus on Blue Lodge.
Well, if you don't spend time in your Blue Lodge, how do you connect with the Masons that are coming up?
Right.
So, I mean, Shrine has the membership out there. I mean, I can solicit people to join Shrine from outside of Masonry. I said, just come out and be a Shriner, And then they ask, well, how do you do that? Then I can go, aha, you have to be a Freemason. And then once they ask the question after that, well, how do you become a Freemason? That's the light bulb comes on. I can say, ta-da, you ask me. So we go from there. And the guys that are getting the most out of it are the ones who are really learning and taking the time to learn the ritual and seeing the camaraderie that starts in the Blue Lodge. And Shrine, honestly, we don't teach lessons in Shrine. What we do in Shrine is we live the lessons by the charity and stuff we do. Okay. So the ceremony we do, all the ceremony speaks about is going back to our remember your obligations. These are what you learned in Masonry. Now here's your chance to go out in the real world and put it to work. And that's the difference. That's why you never cut off your legs on Masonry with Shrine. It's just one of those things. I'm always working with the lodges because that's where our membership comes from. And we help each other. I scratch their back, they scratch my back. I mean, Shriners have things. We have toys. We have parade vehicles. We can do things to help the lodges out. We have guys who do cooking, and things like that. So when a lodge wants stuff done, I can pull guys from all the district or all the multiple districts to help a lodge. And so that's the way I look at it. It's just how to help each other the best.
That's the one thing Dale promised me is I get to have one of those little chopper motorcycles. That was a
Well, it comes with dollars and cents behind it, right? We find it, you buy it.
They told me if I wanted to join the motor brigade here that it would cost me about 20 grand because I have to buy one of the guys Harley Davidsons that matches everything because they have a match set or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Motor Patrol is like that. Motor Escort, yeah, they'll do that. But every temple is different. They all have their own.
I like the little mini scooter idea.
I have a Tin Lizzie, and it's sitting in my garage right now because as Potentate, I'm not allowed to drive and perform in a parade. I have to be at the front representing the temple and then everybody else gets to do the performing. So this year, I'm kind of like walking around with my hands behind my backs because I can't do what I like to do. You know, I like to drive the Tin Lizzie. I like to catch the dummy out of the cannon that we do. I like to play the Calliope. There's a lot of things we do, and I like to entertain. So it's just a different way.
Well, that's a great segue. There was we do have, as Steve mentioned, again, I apologize for my voice here. Steve mentioned we do have live chat on our YouTube channel that's streaming, and also on Facebook, and we have our Discord server. And there was a question. Our other guest, normal host, not guest host, our normal host, Connor, isn't with us today. We're sad to see him not here, but he is chatting with us, and he had a question about the difference between units and clubs. So what, I know we're talking about drill units and parade units and clown units and all that kind of stuff. So what's the difference between a club and a unit?
Units are tied directly to the temple. They answer right to the potentate, okay? And they perform. They do tasks. So a motor escort would be just like he was talking about. They have motorcycles. They ride in the parades, and when the potentate is traveling, they escort the potentate to his events. Okay, so it's a lot of pomp and ceremony in shrine, and not all temples live it up. But in big temples, oh yeah, the potentate is treated like a king. Okay, the smaller temples, the units are not quite as big, and it's a little different there. So it's treated that everyone's plain folks to each other. So I mean, you can go to Yarub Temple, which has got 3,800 members strong. It's a whole different vibe versus my temple, which is 380 members strong. So it's a big difference. The units are any temple can have any number of units, from Legion of Honor, which is the veterans for the military, Provost Guard, which is the guys who are the ones who walk around with the potentate, and they are his protectors. The Legion of Honor in a meeting would bring in the flag and all that stuff. Another group would be like the greeters, and they're the group that sets up the meetings and takes it down. And that's a different kind of. The clowns are units. We perform in parades and we do things. Now clubs there's two kinds of clubs. There's a club that is regional, that kind of organizes all the Shriners in a region far away from the temple or close to it. So it's more like a regional thing, and it just kind of keeps the guys active when they're like, my club is Gateway Club, and we're 140 miles away from the temple. So our guys are kept active here, and there's a president of the club who is like a mini potentate, you know, just like the lodge master handles the lodge, and then the district deputy oversees several that, and then you got the grand master. Well, here it goes president, and he answers directly to the potentate. So he is the representative of the potentate in the area, and he does the PR and all that stuff. And we train him to do that, those kinds of questions. The other kind of a club is a club that is organized around a social interest, like radio control cars or smoking fezzes, cigars and scotch kind of thing, or Al Kagers, which is all about brewing beer and going to pubs and stuff, or the yacht club, which is all about boating and anything to do with the water. So there are a multitude of clubs for interest, and then the other kind that are for region. And you do not have to be a member of the temple that the club is in to join that club, because guys live in different temples and move, and then they don't want to lose their home temple, so they keep their membership in their home temple, but they join the local club, and they can do that. Just like when you move to another state as a Mason, you can attend a lodge meeting, any lodge meeting you want, as long as you have your dues card paid up, and you can be part of that group, and you don't have to join that Grand Lodge or that lodge, but you still are there and active in it. So it's along those lines. Does that help?
Absolutely.
Very much so.
So Dale, if you couldn't be a Mason or couldn't be a Shriner, what's something anymore? Let's say tomorrow something happened and you couldn't be a Mason anymore and could be a Shriner anymore. What's something that you do in the shrine, though, that is something that you would say, oh, I've learned from the shrine to be part of this or to do this, and I want to continue that in my life? Is there something that has impacted you in shrine that you say, gosh, I love this. I will do this whether I'm a Mason or not, or whether I'm a Shriner or not, potentially?
You know, it's the giving and the helping, the giving of yourself. You know, the motto of the Imperial Potentate this year is Masons make men better, and Shriners make the world a better place. And if there's anything Shrine has taught me is that if you live your principles, your Masonic principles in your life, you'll never have a bad day. I don't know how better way to say it. I cry more out of love as a Shriner, and I'm getting emotional now because of the impact we have on kids and adults who see what we do. And if I were not a Shriner, you still can do many of the events we do because they're not tied to being a Shriner. Our ladies, our families are involved in our events because it's not in a tiled meeting. We do our most work. Most of our work is done in activities. So if we help the hospital, that you don't have to be a Shriner to help the hospital. We do like jogathons, walkathons, and all sorts of stuff that they need people. So I get guys who are interested in masonry and shrine. I get them to come along and help us, and they get to meet masons that way and find out all the good works we do. And you just can't beat that. You can't top that. I don't know how to answer that. That's a hard question.
Well, and I a little bit of a prompt for you too about. I think one of the things that people don't realize about, they hear about Shriners hospitals and they know they do amazing things for kids and all that, but they don't really understand that it's really the shrine and Masons that are part of that sometimes. I mean, we know about it because we're integrated with it, but as you know, if you're out talking to people on the street and they said, what is Freemasonry? Or they don't really have any clue, don't have any family background, don't have any connections at all. And of course, one of the common things, even though I'm not a Shriner, I say, hey, do you know about the Shrine Hospital? Well, yeah, I know about Shrine Hospitals. I've heard of that or whatever. And well, those are all Masons. Those are part of the Freemasonry, and the Shrine is an organization that's part of Freemasonry or connected to Freemasonry. And so that's an easy way to segue in to talk about the Shrine hospitals and things like that, which are pretty amazing.
Oh, well, every hospital has a Masonic emblem on their headstone or out in front. If you've I don't have a picture with me, but if you look at the Portland Shriners Hospital, you have the silent messenger up on a big pedestal. That's the Shriner with the carrying the child and the crutches in his one hand. That we call that the silent messenger because that gives the message to Shrine right there without saying anything. We help kids, and it says Shriners Hospitals on the logo, and then in the right corner bottom is carved the Masonic emblem. So all Shriners are Freemasons, and the Shrine temples have all put their time and money into building up a multi-billion-dollar medical centered system. Okay. And it's not all hospitals anymore because the medical world is changing so fast right now. We're converting some of our hospitals to medical centers because the paradigm is no longer where you keep a kid 2, 3, 4 months at a hospital anymore, like we did with Brother Harry Howell over out of Olympia One Lodge. He was born with multiple disabilities, and he would spend months at a time at the Shrine Hospital while they took care of his needs. But now you go in one day, you get a surgery, you may stay the night, or you may just go out in the afternoon and go home. So the changing situation is amazing. So the Shrine hospitals are a way to help everyone in the world. Our Masonic family, everybody that's a Mason has kids in their family life, or their brothers have kids, or their nieces and nephews and all that stuff. So the way Shrine can help the Masonic family and out in the greater world is we have a system of hospitals that handles pediatric orthopedic needs for kids from birth and pre-birth. We have in utero stuff now to 18, and sometimes we go beyond that based on needs of the patient. Okay. So every hospital has different specialties. Some do more than others because they're bigger than others. Right now, Portland Hospital is, gosh, it can do burn care because they'll do revision surgery for the facial and the scars. It does maxillofacial stuff with cleft lip and palate. And we do orthopedic stuff. We have 11 orthopedic surgeons. And no matter what, you go into the hospital and you see a doctor, you're seeing an orthopedic surgeon that day. So in the American system, if you go through a normal doctor's, it'll take you 3 weeks to get an appointment. And in the Shrine system, it happens that day.
Yeah. Also said they could do a spinal cord injury work as well. I didn't realize that.
Yes, yes. I mean, the things I can tell you, we've done things. We had a boy in Sacramento that didn't have a rectum. So at 3 years of age, he had a colostomy bag his whole life. So
Wow.
the NorCal hospital said we can fix that. So they literally made a rectum for this kid. And now at 4 years of age, he no longer has a colostomy bag. He runs around and plays with his friends, and it's just amazing. I know they
That's
do
really
urological
cool.
stuff at the Boston or Springfield, Massachusetts hospital. They are near a urological clinic, so they work with those guys and they do urologic work. So the scope of treatment in Shriners is amazing. And who knows? Maybe we'll go to fewer hospitals and more services. I don't know. I mean, the plans right now are fluid because the world of medicine is so constantly changing that we have to do something, you know.
It's really nice to see that the Shriners are aware of that and on board with that program, and are staying fluid in order to adjust to the times so that they can give the best support that they can. I love that.
Well, okay, for the hospital side, it's where the hospitals are underutilized. People don't stay overnight. So what are you going to do with this big building and you're only using 2 or 3 beds and you got 30 beds? You're just hemorrhaging money. So what they're doing is they convert it to a clinic, and you go 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, and now you don't have the overnight expense of the hospital being open with the security and all that stuff and the 24/7 staffing. And if we go to the clinic model, and as we have been doing, why not open up more clinics? So the conversation with Tampa is that they've turned Tampa into a clinic, and they're going to open up more clinics in the rest of the state, 8 more, and get the clinics closer to the patients.
And
So
it's got to be more affordable by far to open a clinic than a hospital.
oh, truly, it is more affordable. And telehealth, we're like jumping up in the telehealth game. I mean, you could envision this. You could go to a mall, open up an office, and have a physician's assistant or a nurse practitioner be in there, connected to a Shrine hospital where the pediatric surgeon is there, and do telehealth where you're using the nurse, the RN or PA or the FNP to handle the patient right there, and they're using telehealth with like we're doing right now with this, and they're looking at the patient, they're examining the patient, the doctor can see the stuff, and they can take all the stuff, and instead of that kid driving 150 miles or 300 miles like we do now with our vans and buses and stuff, now they're just going to a local mall and getting taken care of that day, and they're back in home within a half hour. You know,
That is just simply amazing. I love it. And you know, I mean, so I guess one of the things is how come, like, I didn't know all that really cool stuff, and so
oh yeah.
if I don't know that, how do you guys get that message out? How do you guys spread the message of what it is you guys are doing, or do you guys spread the message?
We're starting to advertise stuff like that, but we have to make sure we have it set up first before you start telling them about it. So when you get the system in place, start working it, and then you go out and say, "Look here, we got this here. Look, we can come here and take care of your kids here at the mall." So I mean, right now you got the Portland Hospital handling the whole Northwest. Why can't we open up a mall thing in Renton, a mall in Fairbanks, and in where you're at in Whistler? We could do one in Whistler. We could do one in, all those major metro areas. We could open up clinics and get the patients taken care of closer to their home. And here's something else. The Montreal hospital that you have isn't connected to the American drug system and stuff. So we can do treatments at the Montreal hospital that you can't do in America. And same as in Mexico City, that hospital down there is not part of the insurance system of America. So the stuff we can do in Mexico City, we're not tied to the FDA and the HIPAA regulations and all that. So the things you can do in those 2 hospitals are radically different than what you can do in the United States. Something to learn there.
And so as you were doing this, I noticed on your lapel, is that your pin for your year? Is that a regular Shriner pin for?
Yeah, this is my pin for my year. Every potentate has the usually puts out a pin. Okay, it's like 99% due, and they'll put out a pin with their little motto. I don't know if you can read that. And mine is music truly makes a difference. It's a grand piano, and I have the temple name on it with the fez. And since I'm Keys the Clown, and I play the piano when I go to lodge meetings, and I do, for DeMolay and Rainbow and Job's Daughters, I'll play the piano. So for me, music truly has made a difference in my shrine life. And so the founding of Shrine, we was brought up with music and stuff, and that's where you get the song "Forever Blowing Bubbles" when they founded the Shrine Hospitals in 1920. So every
Cool.
potentate has these. I have my name on the back, and I give the pins out.
That's really important, the name on the back, because our absentee co-host Connor is kind of a pin collector, and he's asking in private chat whether or not you'd send him a pin up here.
I'd be most happy to.
You put it right beside Lou's, and
oh yeah, I've got Lou's pin.
Lou's one thing. And yeah, I really like the message that yours has, because music truly can change a lot of lives, and I like your whole story that goes along with that. That's really cool, man.
The Shrine Hospital system is into whole child care. So we use in our rehab, we use music therapy, physical therapy for rehab. We do all of that stuff. Anything to stimulate and activate the mind and the physicality of the patient, we do that. So there are people who come to the hospital and they'll bring a ukulele and they'll sit there with the patients. They do all sorts of stuff like that. It's just amazing. Just amazing. And as a shrine clown, I bring my keyboard and we do a magic show, and I play the piano, the keyboard really badly, and the magicians do their magic really badly, and the kids laugh, and we have a great time. So, that's why I'm Keys the Clown, and that's it. That's how we got that name.
Maybe they wouldn't kick me out of the music thing there, because they're really nice people, and unlike my 5th grade teacher who gave me 2 classes of the recorder and then took it back and gave me a PE class. The Shriners, they probably appreciate just the effort in the background, even if it was just the cymbals, right?
Well, that's something for you to think of. Every shrine temple usually has some form of an Oriental band, or it did at one time. We have a small Oriental band at Afifi, but at one time it was in over 100 strong. And a matter of fact, Afifi was the first shrine band, first band to ever travel to Alaska back in the 1920s with the Imperial Potentate from there, because he did a pilgrimage to Alaska, and he brought the Oriental band, and that was the first time they ever had a live band in Alaska.
Okay, I got a really good question for you. It's a little personal though, right?
Okay.
All these years you've been doing all these things, and you joined Masonry. What was it that prompted you to join the shrine?
A parade. I was asked to. Afifi Shrine has a cannon that they shoot a dummy out of, and 4 guys march behind the cannon with a tarp. And people may wonder what kind of tarp. Well, you may know about it from the 3rd degree. So we catch the dummy with the tarp, and they were short catchers down here in the Hazeldale Parade in Vancouver, Washington. So I was asked, "Hey, Dale, you want to be a catcher?" by one of my senior DeMolay brothers that I met here. And I mean, this is like in the first 4 months I was here. It was April 2011. So I said, "Sure. What can I do?" And he said, just wear comfortable clothes. So I put my DeMolay polo on, so I show that I was kind of Masonic and all that. And I got behind the cannon, and we just the cannon would go off, boom, and the dummy would fly out. We would catch it, we would drop it. If we dropped it, they had a guy would run out of the van that was pulling the cannon. He would come up and do compressions and check out. Then he would say, "It's good, he's good." And I would pick up the dummy and scoop it up and run up to the cannon, and we'd stuff it. The whole time we're walking, except when the cannon fires, they stop and they shoot it off. And that dummy, you can calibrate it. That dummy can go 25 feet or 100 feet. It depends on how how much CO2 they put in the compressed air when they do it.
Yeah.
So it takes finessing, and I just had a blast. The kids on the side were all excited. I like to be out there. I'm pretty wild out there as a guy, and as a UPS driver, I was just very energetic, and so that fit my mold right then. So I had a blast, and I said, okay, where do I sign up? I'll be a Shriner. If this is what Shrine is about, this. And they said, well, we haven't shown the hospital, but this is the fun side, and it's right. The hospital side can be the fun side too, but the parades and performing in front of kids and the world is awesome, and that's why I joined Shrine.
Way cool. Way cool. So it's really a senior DMLA's fault.
Yeah. Because when I moved here from Southern California, I was very involved with Southern California Jurisdiction Order DMLA. I was on the advisory council for the jurisdiction, and I was also chairman of my chapter advisory board. So when I went here, I immediately plugged into the local lodges and, of course, the DMLA chapter, and got to know the advisors. And a couple of the advisors were senior DMLAs, and we've been buddies ever since. And shout out to Mike Clemenhagen for being one of those guys. He's a great guy, and he's been active in Job's Daughters for many years. He's a former past Grand Guardian, Associate Bethel Guardian, or whatever for the state of Washington. So he's a good guy.
Fantastic. Yeah, you know, a lot of my senior DMLA buddies get me into a lot of trouble over the years, I tell you. I wouldn't have done half of these things if it wasn't for some of them.
I'm with you. I still go golfing with the guys I was friends with 45 years ago. We go golfing once a year, someplace, Las Vegas, Reno, and it's just a guys' weekend. And we go out and we go golfing, and then at night we hang out and have a great dinner. And then the Saturday night dinner, no holds barred, just order whatever you want, and then we all just split the cost 20 ways or 25 ways, however many are there, and we have a great time. And that was the start of my whole Masonic life, and it was great. And I still see those guys.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I have yeah, we still get together. We don't do an annual thing because there's enough birthdays and weddings and celebration stuff between I guess the 20 of us or so that are still pretty tight, that there's a reason to get together a couple times a year.
There you go. Well, we're spread out over the United States now. There's guys in Texas and Ohio and I don't know, all over. I'm up here, so when we get together, people fly in and literally fly in. And now we've added bring your son and things like that. So, and I'm not going to lie, it's pretty much a 21 and older thing because we go out and of course we'll have our libations that are adults. So, but we have a great time playing golf, and usually it's 2 days of golf. And some of the guys can't play golf anymore. Their back is messed up or their legs. So they just come along in the golf carts and harass us the whole time. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome to hear you guys still do that from your old DMLA days. That's awesome. Yep. I didn't think there was many bunches that still did that, but yeah, we've got a pretty narrowed down crew to about 20 now here in BC that get together.
Keep adding to DMLA from your chapter. Just keep doing that.
Yeah, well, they're down on the coast now, so I'm not as active with them as I once was. But so paying attention to the time, being a responsible podcaster, we're getting down to the last 10 minutes of our show. So we want to make sure that if there's any message that you or your particular shrine unit wanted to get out, this would be your opportunity.
Well, the big message I can say is, if you're curious about shrine, don't be afraid to ask. First off, just like masonry, the best thing to do is talk to people. If people think that Shriners are a bunch of drinking guys, that's 20 years ago. Okay, because everybody has to drive far to get together, and nobody has time to drink a lot and get drunk. So there's that's not an issue anymore. I mean, I drive 140 miles to get to my meetings, and believe me, I'm not going to sit there. If we do have alcohol at our meetings or something, it's usually just a drink, and then I'm back to water because I got to drive back 2 hours. So there's no reason to hit the stuff. My temple, unfortunately, we had to sell our building several years back because it was costing us almost $100,000 a year, and we were not bringing in $100,000 a year because our dues structure is not even $100,000 a year anymore. The numbers are just not there. So it was either keep the building and go broke, or sell it and stay alive. And so now we meet in a Masonic lodge in the area from where our temple is, and we're still functioning and still doing what we do best. And if you want to know about the shrine and the hospitals, ask. Just ask. Go to our website. Go to our Facebook page. Talk to any of our divan members. All of our guys in our divan are active in their lodges, and heck, the junior grand warden just got elected. He's a past potentate from the year before me, so he's active in lodge, and he always owned Grand Lodge. And all of just about everybody that's a leader in the shrine is also a leader in Grand Lodge in some way, shape, or form. They're on committees or they're doing something in their lodges. And I stepped out of the local line in my lodge just because as potentate, I just can't be there for all this stuff. I have too much traveling and PR to do. And I mean, you really, it's amazing how much you do in shrine as PR. That's the one thing Masonry could learn, is how to do more PR to get out in the public eye. Because if you're going to hide your light, nobody's going to see it. You got to let it shine, you know?
And even on the international level too, they've got the website beashrinernow.com. That was beashrinernow.com. So if you want to know about Shrine, you can go there. And as I understand it, which of course I'm looking at it now, and it has lots of information about Freemasonry, of course, how to get there. But then if you were wanting more information, the next step, you click on that link and it'll take you to a form, and that goes to the individual shrine temples, as I understand it. And then they're
by zip code to the closest shrine temple.
Yep. And then what's even better, they're given out to a Mason again. So then they have to come into the fraternity that way. So
yeah. And I've handled many of those calls. I met some great guys through that, and they were not Masons, and now they are, and we're better off for it.
Yeah.
Great people.
I won't go into my history, but technically my wife's great uncle is a Shriner, a drill team member for 50 years. And that's how I was introduced. He's passed now, unfortunately, but in St. Louis, it was his life. And he just always talked about it every time we visited. And that was my introduction to Masonry as well. And I finally asked him, that's the other myth understanding I was talking about, that I wish I would have known. I should have asked or could have asked 15 years earlier, 20 years earlier, and then we could have had a little relationship. So if there's anybody out there that is thinking about Shrine or wants to know about the fraternity, as Dale said, make sure you ask, because there's a myth understanding that we're not supposed to talk about it to people or ask to people. And I think that if Masons are listening too, I think if you know a man that would be good and you'd like to become brothers and friends, stronger friends with them, tell them, hey, I think you'd make a good Mason, or come hold the bag. Come hold the bag.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I've got, for everyone that is close by a Shrine hospital or fairly close, the Shrine hospitals all have a fracture clinic now. And a fracture clinic is basically sports injuries or any kind of injury that happens to your kid. And if it falls in our scope of care, we will treat you. And that is regardless of ability to pay. So if you have insurance, great. If you don't, great. We don't care. And we've expanded our hours at the Portland Shriners Hospital and at the Spokane Hospital that is close to everyone here. And we can take care of your kid that day. You'll see a orthopedic surgeon, pediatric, and they understand growth plates and taking care of those bones and muscles and stuff. And by all means, take advantage of it, especially if you got girls in soccer, cheerleaders, kids playing hockey, lacrosse, football, all that stuff. If you can't get to the hospital, just ask for help. That's what each Shrine Temple has, is a transportation fund, and it's set up to help get the kids to the hospitals. That's why we have vans. That's why we buy plane tickets and send you there, and we give you room and board too when you're there. We put you up in a hotel, or in some instances, hospitals have apartments there, and we can put you up in the hospital for the overnight stay or 2 or 3 days and take care of you that way. But the stuff we can do at Shrine is amazing, and more people, if they want to help out the Shrine, all you have to do is ask how. And we got patients who've joined, they're giving back and they want to give back to the hospital. So they've joined Masonry and they're Shriners now. And they're members of their lodge, they're officers, and they're working as officers in our Shrine group. And I can think of 3 of them at my temple right now. So
Yeah,
it's just a great way.
I think we needed to do a remote show at the Portland Hospital. Have you and Rory, a good friend of mine, Rory Johnson, I understand is going to be potentate in a few years. He's on the
Board of Governors.
Board of Governors, thank you, Board of Governors. And so it'd be great to maybe do an offsite show down there, or maybe a pre-recorded thing we could put on the channel.
He's another example of someone who came to Shrine of Masonry through the hospital, because his daughter was a patient at the Shrine Hospital, and the more that she was involved with the hospital, he started asking around, and eventually he joined, and now he's the vice chair of the hospital board of governors and the assistant rabban of my Shrine temple. His daughter was the national patient ambassador in 2006. And if people think I'm popular, you ought to see her.
She is.
Everywhere I go, they know Megan.
Yes.
They know Megan all over the place.
Yeah.
And I've just been amazed at how many people know Megan. So it's a joy.
Yeah.
And here's one for the Shriners, okay? And this is going to be online forever and ever and ever, right? We are currently putting a prospect through our 6-step program who has come to us solely from what the Shriners have done for his niece and for the impact that it's had on his life. He knows some of their family were Masons, none of the ones that are close by him at the moment, but some of their more well-respected gentlemen in the family were Masons, and he's found out that to become a Shriner, you have to be a Mason, and he's building the tower across from our hall, and he tapped a Shriner on the shoulder as he was going into the hall, saying, you know, how do I connect with the Shriners, and how do I become a Shriner? And now he's in my 6-step program. So, you know, the Shriners' good works out there bring members to Blue Lodge in many ways.
Yep. Yeah. You learn about the brotherly love, the relief, the charity in Blue Lodge. Okay. And Shrine only does the simple fact of we put it into action. Okay. There's no philosophy I teach in Shrine as potentate. We don't teach any philosophy. We teach doing. We do it. So if you want to be a giving person and give back to your community, come to the Shrine, be a Mason, learn as much as you can as a Mason, because it's a great resource of brotherhood and friendship, and the esoteric learning you can get as a Scottish Rite or York Rite, any of those. The libraries, I've been reading out of the Masonic library since I was a kid. I mean, you just can't beat it. But living it, that's the Shrine life. Come out and do some stuff. Come to the golf tournaments. Go out to, we just did a football game and raised money for the hospital. And I had Masons who were not Shriners out there helping us out, and they loved it because they know they're doing something for the better of their world, their community.
That's an awesome message. In conclusion here, David, do you have any last words to share?
No, I just want to say thanks to Dale for coming out today and being part of the show, and look forward to having him on a future show to talk about lots of other things. We've got all kinds of angles, Lodge and Demolay and Shrine and all kinds of things we can talk about. So look forward to having you back. And
I'd love to.
Thanks for being on, and we really appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah, thank you very much. Great. Lou was sad that he couldn't be here to have this opportunity, and so maybe we'll get you both on another day and do this again if you enjoyed it well enough.
Anytime. I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. Well then, just a reminder, if you guys enjoyed our show, please review us. We are now on most of the podcast apps. Pretty soon, I think we'll be on the iTunes one, but Spotify and Google Play and some of the other more popular ones, we are there. So please look us up, review us, and thanks for your kind words. Everybody, have a fantastic rest of your day.